Hello guys, welcome to our sixth tutorial of this CSS Crash Course. In this tutorial we are going to look at forms, how you can format your forms. So as you all know, like default forms are like ugly, so in this tutorial we're going to look at how you can add some styling to them. So yeah, let's get into it. As you can see, I already have my HTML file open up here from our previous tutorial. I'll open it up in our browser. So yeah, let's just go ahead and get started. So I'll just come down here and make sure you are in your wrapper div there. So let's just create a div, open and close it, and then let's give it a class name. Let's just my form, and then let's just add an h1 there. H1, let's just say this is our form, and then let's just create our form. Should know from our HTML tutorial, you know, a form got its own form tag. If you don't know that, please, I would advise you to go back and watch our HTML Crash Course. We cover all this in our HTML Crash Course. So form, the first thing we are going to start with is a label, and then close it off, and then let's just make this a name, and then let's add some input. This is all, again, this is all just HTML. The type, going to make it as text, and then the name, let's make it a name. And then since this is all just HTML, I'm just going to copy this and then paste it down here. Paste it down here, and then I'll just change this to email. The type I will leave is a text, and then the name, email, and then move down, and then a label, is just a message, and then we'll have an input. Actually, and then text area, we have a text area there, and then text area, open and close it off, and then the last thing, I will have an input. The type, I want to make it a submit, since this is going to be our submit button, and then the name, submit, and then let's just add the value there, which I want it submit. Control S to save, and then refresh. You will see, look down here, this is down here. So if you see that you are not seeing your text area there, that means you have been following our tutorial very well. So it's down here, so I want you to come down to your CSS file, just come up there, and then in your border up here, this line of code, you set your border to 0. That's the reason you are not seeing your borders here. So I just want you to delete that, and then save, and then now refresh in your browser. As you will see, you're now seeing your text area borders there. So yeah, let's move on. Then from there, let's just style our div first, which is my form div here. So to call it my form, I just want us to add some margins bottom, let's say 400 pixel, and then just refresh. You see I wanted to move it up there, so now got there, and then let's just give it some margin to the top, let's say 60 pixel. Refresh. You see it's now looking like that. And then another thing that I want us to look at is the h1, which is my form h1, open and closing brackets. Let's just give it some margin bottom, let's say 20 pixel, and then we want to center it, so text align its center. Control S to save, and then refresh. You see it's now centered. So let's move on to our form. So we want to target my form, which is our div, and then the form. In the form, the form itself, let's give it some margin top. You can add some margin top, maybe let's make it 20 pixel, then refresh. And then we want to target my form, the form, and then we want to target the label. The label, we know we cover a label here, we use label, this label name, label email and message, so we want to target those. So label, we want to display, since they are displayed in line, so we want to display them block. Control S to save, and then refresh. You will see they are now displayed block there. And then the next thing that I want us, you can also maybe change the font size if you want, like let's say to 18 pixel, and then refresh. You can also change the font weight if you want to bold them, let's say 700, just 700, and then font weight, Control S to save, and then refresh. You will see got there. So the next thing that I want us to give is a margin. We want to give it some margin to the top, let's say 20 pixel, and refresh. As you see, you got now your margin there. So let's make this 15 pixel, 15, refresh. You see you got your margin there. So now the next thing that I want us to target, it's our input, my form. I want to target the form, but then the input, our input here, our input there. So what I want us to, I want them to display them, since they are displayed in line, I want to display them in block. Try to save, since I want to move this button down here as well. It's now down there. So, and then you can change the width. Let's say we want to make it 100%, and then refresh. Width is 100%. If you see, you target your input, this input, and then this, but it did not affect the text area, since that's not an input, but it also affected our button. That's because you targeted all the input, and you know the submit, you also got an input tag, but you only wanted to target these two, these inputs there, and not the submit button. So to do that, you come here, don't put any space, and then just open and closing your square brackets there. Don't put any space between your input and your brackets, just give it together there, and then just type in the text. You want to only target the text, the type that is a text, and then refresh. As you will see, now your button is now back to its normal way, and then you only targeted this. And like I said, don't put space there. If you put space there and then Ctrl S to save and then refresh, you will see it not taking any effect. So make sure you don't put any space between your input and then your brackets there. So refresh, you see you're now back to that. So now you want to also to target your text area here. You want it to be 100% as well. So to do that, you want it to have them the same format, right? So you can just add a comma there and then target your text area, which is my form and then you want to target the text area, and then that's all. And then just Ctrl S to save and then refresh. As you will see, your text area is now also targeted. You are using the same format there. So now let's move on to formatting our button. So you want to target your button, my form, and then input, but this time you only want to target the type, which is submit. So let's say you want to give it a background color. Let's say you want to make it black. You want the text color to be white, and then you want to add some padding, let's say 10 pixels from top and bottom, and then 20 pixels left and right, and then the Ctrl S to save and then refresh. You see you got your button there, so you can also, that's your button. You can also add some margins. Let's say you want to add margin top, let's say 20 pixels. In your button, you want to move it down a bit, you got your button there. Let's say you don't want it to have some border, so you can set your border to 0. Don't want it to have any border. You can also give it some hover effect. If you want something to happen when you hover on it, you can target it, my form input. You want to target the type, which is submit. So you want once the person hover it, you want the hover effect. So you want the background color to change, let's say to brown, and then you want the color to black. Ctrl S to save and then refresh. You see, once you hover it, you see it's now, once you hover it, it's like that. You can also, you see your cursor is not changing, you can add something like a cursor there. You see cursor, you want it to be a pointer. Once you hover your button, Ctrl S to save and then refresh, you will see once you hover it, now you got a hand. So yeah, you can add some styling. Let's say we want to add the form itself, you want to add some background color, let's say you want to come into the form there. You can add some background color to the form. Let's just add some styling. Let's say you wanted to make it sky blue. Alright, sky blue. Control S to save and then refresh. You see your form is looking like that. And then let's just give it some padding. Let's say 20 pixels on both sides. Control S to save and then refresh. You see you got your forms looking like that. Got your forms looking like that. Can also add some border radius, let's say 20 pixels, and then refresh. You see your form got now some borders radius there, some edge there. This is your text area. You can adjust it. So yeah, you can play around with some codes, but this was just to give you a quick introduction. So I hope you find this video helpful. If you did, make sure you give it a thumbs up, leave us a comment down below, and if this is your first time, please consider subscribing. So I will see you guys in the next video. I'm out.